You are now tuned in to Go Time Dolphins with Charlie Touche and Kadeem Simmons, the Miami Dolphins podcast that's for the fans and by the fans.
Gotta make them lose their mind when it's your time. And it's show time. Going all out when it's go time. Go. I ain't wasting no time. Gotta make them lose their mind when it's show time. Cause it's your time. Lay it on the line when it's go time. Go. Don't waste no time.
I feel like we are fully in. I say that I feel we are fully into off season. Draft mode, the combine going on literally as we speak, and loads of college players talking about they spoke to the Dolphins, they want to be in Miami, and then you've obviously got Mike McDaniel and Chris Grier talking over the past few days. But that's not what I want to ask you about first. Have you seen this Ravens situation on social media, like Rashad Bateman talking and stuff like that? And obviously, the voice you're about to hear will be my host, Mr. Charlie Touche. How are you?
I don't know if y'all caught me throwing on the lotion. I was rolling earlier in a dojo. You know what I'm saying? JJ Jacuzzi, Charlie Touche, aka JJ Jacuzzi. I had that nickname for a long time, Kadeem, JJ Jacuzzi, but it just sounded cool, JJ Jacuzzi. You feel me? I kind of, I'm an Outkast fan, so Big Boy from Outkast, there's Andre 3000 and there's Big Boy for those who are, may not be Outkast fans out there. And Big Boy calls himself Hot Tub Tony. I thought that was a cool little nickname. Oh, Hot Tub Tony. So a long time ago, I'm like, oh, JJ Jacuzzi. Just call me JJ Jacuzzi. So I didn't know what JJ stood for until now. Jiu-Jitsu Jacuzzi, baby. I like it. Boy, I'm immersed by the jiu-jitsu, man. I'm out here rolling almost every day. I'm training, man. So I really like this journey. But to your question, man, I like what Rashad Bateman said. Rashad Bateman was like, I'm a receiver, by the way. You know what I'm saying? First round pick, if you forgot. And I like Rashad Bateman. I like what he said. And y'all just gonna brush over the receivers and say we not here. All right. Not to go too in depth, but at the same time, nah, bro, you're not gonna I was gonna say something that might not be PG, you know what I'm saying? But you're not gonna piss on my head and tell me it's raining. You feel me? Like, nah. So I rock with Rashad Bateman.
So for those who don't know what we're talking about, the Ravens GM, is it Eric DeCosta?
Yeah, something like that.
Was essentially, at the combine speaking and basically said that, and correct me if I'm wrong, basically said that the Ravens have no wide receivers and that they need to do a better job of, scouting and drafting. To which Bateman was like, yo, I'm here. I'm literally right in the building, and said, don't blame me and obviously Lamar Jackson. We're doing what we got to do. Essentially said the operation needs to be better. And I think there's a valid point to that because obviously the Ravens have a quarterback in Lamar Jackson, treat him like essentially a running back. We can sit here and debate Lamar Jackson's strengths, but I think a lot of people at this point would have expected the Ravens to, develop more of a passing attack with Jackson. And this is Go Time Dolphins, not Go Time Ravens. But I just thought with that, the ongoing beef between Juju Smith-Schuster and AJ Brown, loads of little petty arguments and beefs going around the NFL. And for once, the Dolphins seem to be completely fine, just sitting there, minding their own business, and planning for the off season.
It's Go Time Dolphins, the Miami Dolphins podcast that goes not only across the pond, but across the world. I'm your boy, Charlie Touche. I got my co-host, Kadeem Simmons, with me. It's always for the fans and by the fans. Your favorite podcast favorite podcast. Ooh. Chris Grier showed up talking combine and talking all things off season. Again, you know, I'm not this Twitter guy that sees a 10-second clip of a pass or a play and say what could have happened on the play or the pass, and this person was open and we don't know what read that person was in the route, or what route he's running in the tree, all the good stuff. So same thing with quotes. And you already know how I feel about sources. So same thing with quotes. You see a quote and you wonder what it sounded like. Well, I wonder what it sounded like. How did he say it? But I'm not big on quotes. So we actually, you know, the video came out for Coach McDaniel now, and the video came out for GM Chris Grier. And the first question he was asked, Chris Grier, what was the first question? Byron Jones, right?
I believe so.
Byron Jones. And if you didn't know better, you would have thought everything was peachy. Like the way Chris Grier, that's what I was telling you, Kadeem. I'm like, bruh, Chris Grier is seasoned at getting in and out of these questions and answers when it comes to players and stuff. Coach McDaniel's not seasoned, bro. He just answered questions about plays before. Now he's a head coach, and now he has to finagle his way in and out of some things, like a chess, like a chess piece. Like, oh, check. Oh, I'm out of here. You know what I'm saying? And Chris Grier got up out of there with that Byron Jones question. They asked him basically what's going on with Byron Jones. Is he going to be back? And bro, it sounded like Chris Grier was like, "Oh yeah, we still waiting for him to get healthy, and we'll see. We'll evaluate from there." I know, bro. But if that's what you want to give us, cool. And he didn't give us much. I don't know what to take of it, but I just think we all know what time it is with Byron Jones. And what did you make of that, Kadeem?
Yeah, I think Chris Grier, and before I delve into it, I feel like we need a full episode about Tua, his fifth-year option, his contract, and what both Grier and McDaniel said. Because I feel like that could be quite a tasty episode of a real back and forth. But what he said on Byron Jones, I didn't expect him to say we're going to come out and cut Byron Jones. I think it's one of those situations in which he probably didn't want to have to answer those questions. But once Byron Jones came out and said what he said on social media, he essentially had no choice. And I don't think Chris Grier is going to throw anyone under the bus and say, well, actually, we looked after him perfectly and, you know, it's his fault and all that kind of stuff. I think it's an unfortunate situation. And at this point, kind of, I'm sure Byron Jones knows he's not a Dolphin, you know, post June 1st. And it's just a matter of while it's in the building, he'll treat him with respect. Once he leaves the building, he'll treat him with respect. And you can just go from there. It's, you know, businessmen being businessmen at the end of the day. I should have kept on talking. I apologize. And yeah, I think
no, you good, Kadeem. I got it. I feel you. I appreciate you though, teammate. So yeah, I don't think he's going to show us his hand at all. No one's going to get their hand exposed. And bro, he's so comfortable too, Chris Grier, in this setting. You know what I'm saying? So the very next question was on Tua. Was it not?
I don't have the questions in order, but I do have like what he said on certain things. So
yeah, so then the Tua conversation happens, and it's you know, 5th-year option deadlines coming up. What are you guys doing about Tua? And Chris Grier, we went over the quotes of Chris Grier, and you know, someone asked, "Are you worried about himself in these concussions?" And Chris Grier said very candidly, "I'd be lying if I said I wasn't." But we're not. And now I'm paraphrasing. We don't think that it's a problem that is long term, and it will not have an impact on us talking long-term contract with Tua.
I've got the exact quote here.
Right.
He says, "It's not something that is going to make us afraid to do something long-term with him. He'd been banged up, but he always comes back and bounces back and plays hard and performs. So I'm excited for his future. He's very excited to get back on the field with his teammates.
You like it?
Obviously there's a difference between what he said and what McDaniel said, but I feel like given what McDaniel said and the way you responded to that, you responded differently to what Chris Grier said, and I feel like they both essentially said the same thing. That
No, my bad. Go ahead.
no, I'm saying it's essentially injury. Like, we know injuries are an issue, but we want him here for the long term, so we'll continue to evaluate that going forward.
Not the same thing, because what Coach McDaniel said took off the next day like I thought it would. First thing on ESPN Get Up. Maybe not the first thing, but yeah, everyone's talking about Lamar Jackson to Miami, potentially Aaron Rodgers to Miami, which is not realistic. But when Coach says what he said in the way he said it, it opens up the door for conversation. Hey, what did you guys make about McDaniel saying what he said? Like, we're still evaluating him. Like,
but at the same time, like, we've sat here so many times where after McDaniel or Grier or anyone has said Tua is the long-term answer, and the first thing on whatever insert NFL show in the US, and they go, the Dolphins are going to go get this person. Like, again, I genuinely feel no matter what McDaniel or Chris Grier and McDaniel could have come out and said, we are going to extend to a long term, and people still would have said, oh, they're just saying that, but they're going to go get Lamar Jackson. We've been here enough to know that when the Dolphins, explicitly say they're going to stick by Tua, people go, no, they're not. They're going to go get Jackson. They're going to get Rodgers.
They didn't say they'll stick by Tua, though. And they didn't say they're going to extend them long term. They said we're going to reevaluate, and we have a deadline March 1st, May 1st.
They said they want him. McDaniel said they want him there long term.
Yeah, but they said we're going to evaluate until May 1st. We want him here long term, but we still got some evaluating. We have to evaluate still. You know what I'm saying?
No matter what they said, again, we've been here enough to know that Tua and the Dolphins is an easy segment, and people are going to click on it and debate on it. So I'm pretty sure that the Dolphins could extend, or the Dolphins could have come out and said, we're going to give him the 5th-year option. And then people will say, well, the Bengals aren't doing that with Joe Burrow, so what does that mean for Tua's long-term future? It's like,
I think that's fair though. People already said that. They're like, Burrow's not getting a 5th-year option. Jalen Hurts not getting a 5th-year option. Justin Herbert, and they kind of wishy-washy on Justin Herbert. But I think all of that is fair. I think it's very fair to say, well, why is Tua not? Why isn't it already in stone what is happening with Tua? Is he getting a 5th year? Is he getting a long term? Are you not re-signing him? We want answers. That's what the media does, and I think it's fair.
But it kind of proves my point that no matter what the Dolphins say, the media's still going to spin it and make it seem like it's an issue. It's not.
I don't think it's a spin, because if the Dolphins said we're working out a long-term contract, that's different from we're evaluating. If the Dolphins said we're going to give them the 5th-year option, that's different from evaluating. They didn't say they're going to give them the option, and they didn't say they're going to extend them long-term. So they left the door open for speculating.
But then
speculation.
But then Chris Grier said the same thing about Christian Wilkins, and no one said anything. Like, it's not an issue.
Nah, that's
no. Chris,
you acting right.
No,
you acting
when Chris,
right now.
no, wait. When Chris Grier was asked about Wilkins and his contract, Chris Grier said, "We'll go for all the options here. We're not rushed to make anything right now. We're very excited for him. We're very excited for him. And it's just, it's."
Christian Wilkins was endorsed by Chris Grier. Tua didn't get an endorsement. It's and I don't want to make this a big deal, but yes, they want Tua. Yes, we're gonna keep Tua's gonna be our starter next year, 1,000,000%. That's for sure. But Tua's not getting endorsed by the team. It's not a resounding he's gonna be here long term. It's we want him here long term. Yeah, you want him here long term because he's the quarterback now. So that means you want him to be successful. That's all they're saying. And any franchise that has a starting quarterback is going to say we want him to be the starting quarterback because we want to see him do good things. But there is a difference between wanting him to do good things and actions speak louder than words, Kadeem. That's all I'm saying. Show me the money. If you want me here, pay me like you want me here. That's all I'm saying. Actions speak louder than words.
Like I said, they said the exact same thing about Walkins. No one else said anything. Like it's.
I don't think it's that thing.
But what again? It's Chris Grier has said didn't use the word evaluating, but he said, we're going to see what happens, all that kind of stuff. We want him here long term, which is what they said about Tua. We want him here long term.
Nah, I think he might have said we love Christian Wilkins. If I'm being honest with you, like we're really excited. I told you before when we love his work ethic. Like it was endorsements in there. Like if you say you love somebody, and yeah, it's very apparent Christian Wilkins is going to get an extension. It is not apparent that Tua is going to get an extension.
Like I said, we'll have a full episode on Tua. We'll go back into quotes and all that kind of stuff. I just feel like, I didn't expect you to jump on this whole Tua thing because it's, again,
I didn't jump on it. You brought it up.
I'm talking about last episode. Because episode,
I just took what I heard. Mike McDaniel is the one who threw it out.
But again, it's like we heard the exact same thing, took it two complete different ways. That's what I found so fascinating.
Hey, I mean, half the population took it one way, and I was part of the other half of the population that took it the other way. I'm just saying, like, I heard what I heard.
Can you hear that?
I can. What you got going on, Kadeem?
First of the podcast, Jadaine Simmons just set the house alarm off.
Nah. How she did that?
She probably went into a room without turning the alarm off downstairs. So I'll say voice of the podcast. It could be the other sister, Simone. It sounded like Jadaine, but yeah, that's that. Obviously there was stuff Chris Grier said about Mike Gesicki. What did you make of? And essentially, what he said on Mike Gesicki was like what McDaniel said. He's tested the right. He's earned the right to go test free agency. But they don't know what his value is, so they'll address it if he comes back into the building, which is kind of a roundabout way of saying if he wants to come back, we'll sort something out, I guess.
It really feels like there's a slim chance. It seems like, and Miami's good for this. The Dolphins seen Devontae Parker out in a good way. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, thank you, Devontae Parker, for being a Miami Dolphin for so many years. Yada, 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 yada. Traded him to the team that he wanted to go to. Talked to his agent through the process. They treated Devontae Parker well. There might have been a couple other players that they did the same thing with. And it's going to be the same way with Mike Gesicki. Now, with Mike Gesicki, again, I just think if Mike Gesicki remains a Miami Dolphin, it is going to be on a clearance, buy one, get one deal. Like, yo, let me come back because I love my teammates and I love the city. And forget the money. I'm not playing for the money. I just want to be here. So I think, and even when Chris Grier said it, it was, you can tell it was clear that he doesn't fit what we want to do here anymore. However, we love him. So we still would like to have him here, but he would have to understand that he's not going to get he's not going to get the desired targets and he's not going to get the desired pay. But if someone's willing to settle, then we'll take care of them. And that's unfortunate if you ask me.
Yeah. Which I think kind of, did you also like, what did you make of what he said about tight ends in general and what Mike McDaniel requires from a tight end? Because I found that really interesting. Yeah,
didn't it? Right. He said, basically, what Chris Grier said was, paraphrasing, McDaniel told me that it's not about the tight end and he can make any tight end work in the system.
I was just like, so
what's the problem? Why Mike Gesicki only get a target and a half every game then? What's going on here? So I'm not buying what you're selling. Yeah, it sounds good, but yeah, I'm not buying that.
Yeah, that one, he said it, and I literally, in my mind, jumped up out of my seat and was like, so did Mike Gesicki not do anything last season? And it's not like Mike Gesicki was someone to moan or, I
Shut
think at
up.
one point during the season they said about how, or a coach, the tight ends coach, I believe, spoke about Hunter Long and them not knowing whether he really loved the game and stuff like that. Mike Gesicki loves the game.
Yeah.
Mike Gesicki makes plays when the ball is thrown near him. So for Chris Grier to say that Mike McDaniel said that he can make any tight end work, it's like, well, in the nicest way possible, you can't, because you couldn't make Mike Gesicki work. Now, again, it might have been a case where when Coach McDaniel took the job, his targets in terms of 1 and 2 were going to be Jalen Waddle and Mike Gesicki, and then you add Tyreek Hill, and it's like, well, now I kind of have to make sure, you know, just the offense centers around Tyreek Hill and Jalen Waddle, and any scraps goes to someone else. But I still feel like you can find ways to get Mike Gesicki involved early on in games, which is something we didn't do. So I would have to assume that if Darnell Washington, and he seems like the tight end that Miami Dolphin fans want the most, if Darnell Washington's sitting at a 51, or I believe even in the 40s, I can imagine the Dolphins going up and getting him, which to me would mean, while any tight end can work, only specific ones actually work, if that makes sense.
I'm not trading up for a tight end. It just takes too much. It's too long, bro. Like McDaniel said, we need all the picks we can get. So to lose a pick, to move up to get a guy that's probably not going to show up until the second year, I can't do it. Especially if McDaniel's going to say he could use any tight end. You know what I'm saying? Like, yo, make it work, Cap. But nah, I'm out on tight end unless it's someone seasoned and ready to go, plug and play. Hayden Hurst, Robert Tonyan, Jonnu Smith, of the likes of those three dudes. So shout out to King of Finland. He had a tweet the other day, the NFL, and I'll read it verbatim. The NFLPA has conducted a survey around 1,300 players to compile team rankings and report cards based on quality of operations. Overall, the Dolphins ranked as the second best organization in the NFL. Here are the rankings and categories broken down. So based on the travel team, the Miami Dolphins got an A, which was 4th in the NFL. Based on their locker room, the Miami Dolphins got an A+, which was 1st in the NFL. Training staff, A+, 1st in the NFL. Training room, A+, 1st in the NFL. Strength coaches, A+, 1st in the NFL. Weight room, A+, 1st in the NFL. Food/nutrition, A, 1st in the NFL. And treatment of families, they got a C+, and it was 18th in the NFL. All in all, this report card was again compiled by 1,300 players in the NFL, and Miami Dolphins ranked 2nd. I ain't gonna lie, Kadeem, it might not sound like anything to anybody, but I appreciate this because the Miami Heat is that organization for Florida sports. Everyone knows the Miami Heat front office is top shelf. Like, they're the creme de la creme. That's it. So for the Miami Dolphins to get all the mud thrown at them on TV and in the media and drop the ball with Watson situations and coaches that snort cocaine and all kind of scandals every 17 months, I appreciate this. Maybe I'm tripping, but I really do appreciate it. So yeah, man, it's Caleb Williams, Heisman Trophy winner, the quarterback for USC, said what he said about he wanted to play for the Dolphins. And Chris Grier was asked about it, and Chris Grier said, I thought it was pretty cool. It's a testament to Coach McDaniel and his staff. And I agree 100%.
When you mentioned a King of Finland tweet, I thought you was gonna make or bring up the one where he gets into a back and forth with Mitchell Schwartz, the former NFL offensive lineman. Have you seen that?
I haven't. What you got?
So, and shout out to King of Finland. He was on there a couple of weeks ago. King of Finland has a rep of Mike McGlinchey against the Dolphins, and I believe, funny enough, I believe it's the play where Jimmy G essentially breaks his ankle and misses the rest of the season. But yeah, Mike McGlinchey up against, I believe it's Bradley Chubb. Obviously, we know in that play Jimmy G gets sacked. I believe it's Jerome Baker and Bradley Chubb that take Jimmy G down. But King of Finland was alluding to a bad rep by Mike McGlinchey at right tackle.
Mm-hmm.
And Mitchell Schwartz replied basically saying, that's not a bad rep. He's done nothing wrong. And, this is don't try and evaluate, offensive line play when you don't really know what you're going on about. King of Finland kind of replies saying well, he got beat. He doesn't have his, and the whole back and forth. And by the end, King of Finland essentially just kind of goes, okay, do you know what? I might have got this one wrong. It's Jimmy G gets sacked and Bradley Chubb ends up bringing him down. But when the ball is snapped, Jimmy Garoppolo's on the left hash. He kind of doesn't drop back straight, kind of moves to the right. So if he takes a normal, 3, 5, 7 step
drop
back, and moves into the pocket, Bradley Chubb gets nowhere near Mike McGlinchey. He just doesn't. But because Jerome Baker is rushing off the left-hand side, it kind of pushes Jimmy G back and into Chubb. And that's what Mitchell Schwartz was trying to explain. So shout out to King of Finland for his tweet getting noticed by Mitchell Schwartz and having the confidence to argue your point against a former NFL offensive lineman. Fair play to him.
Again, that's why you just can't take so now you got one play where someone potentially may have been beat and got his quarterback injured, but at the same time, it's is this what we're really doing? You know what I'm saying? You can't evaluate somebody on one play, especially if it wasn't that dude's fault. And then I'm gonna go to my default answer. You win some, you lose some. You can't win every rep. You're not gonna win every rep. So yeah, man, I think that's pretty cool that someone called him out on it. We'll call him out next time he comes on the show. Shout out to King. You know what I'm saying? Happens to the best of us.
On the Dolphins report card, that's really important because in the off season where the Dolphins aren't, flush with cash, some people, and not all of them, but some guys might be like, you know what? I'm happy to take less money to go to Miami because it's perfect facilities. They treat players well, and like Jordan Poyer says, even though he wasn't talking about Miami, he wants to play in a state where they don't take half his money due to taxes. So, if every little can help, and these kind of things mean that the Dolphins can bolster their roster even further this year, then 100%. So, yeah, some people might look at it and go, that's not important. But in the grand scheme of things, I believe it is. So quickly, the Dolphins got, was it a C+ for the family thing?
Yeah, treatment of families, C+.
So apparently, it's not that they treat families bad or wrong.
18th in the NFL, by the way. Go ahead.
Yeah, I think it's something to do with, and it might have been Doug do wrong or someone cleared up on social media, but basically, there's a particular part, I believe, of Hard Rock Stadium which is quite small and that's where families are. And I think some families kind of can't get everyone in. They kind of have to wait their turn and stuff like that. So that's why they got a low rating. They don't, they're not mean to them. They're not rude. It's just a smaller facility than other organizations.
Yeah. I kind of knew this. I ever told you I dated somebody, sister that played for the Miami Dolphins?
You didn't know?
Yeah, I wasn't sure if I ever shared that on the podcast. But obviously, we don't date no more. But
even off the podcast, you never shared that with me.
Yeah, because I don't know. I mean, it's an ex. You know what I'm saying? So it's But anyway, yeah, I dated one of the players on the Miami Dolphins. I dated his sister, and she was telling me about basically that. And it's a little more than that too. It is not. It's nothing bad though. It's not bad, but it's a bit sloppy. Like, yo, y'all could clean this up a little bit. You know what I'm saying? Like, so I get it, but I mean, still, we're still second. Who was first? Who was ranked first? Because we were. So I gotta imagine if we were first in all the rank in all the categories, but ranked 18th in the treatment of families. So it had to be a team that was second in all the categories, and then had was treated the families second overall. Does that warrant a first place? Like if we were first in every category and 18th in one, so this team had to be second in every other category and top 5 in that category. How's that average up?
Before I tell you who came first, who do you think came last?
I'll give people time to guess who came last too. So while I'm thinking, you guys could think about who do you think came last in this category in the overall in the league, not just the category of treatment of families, right? The overall report card was last, is what you're saying.
Yeah.
All right. I'm gonna say the Eagles.
The Eagles were.
Oh wait, I'm lying. It's Cincinnati.
Okay, so Cincinnati were 27th, and the Eagles were 14th.
Dang. All right, so who would you have thought came last? Since you already know the answer, who would you have thought came last?
Maybe the Jets, because of the Jets.
It's New York though. Like they yeah, I could go for that. So give us 32 through 26.
Commanders 32, and you kind of go, you know what? Given everything that's going on there, right there, makes sense. Cardinals 31, 30 to 29 and 30 really surprised me. 30 the Chargers, and 29 the Chiefs. Jaguars 28, I can see that. Yeah. Bengals 27th and Bucks 26th.
So these are the franchises that are just trash when it comes to the behind the scenes and the unseen stuff with training facilities and practice facilities and training staff and stuff like that. Oh, you know what? Hold on. Isn't there a medical staff category?
Medical.
What's it?
So it's not on this list I'm looking at, but I believe the Ravens, like there's a few tweets from Ravens players Ravens players were saying they never got an injury in college, went to Baltimore and got injured every single year. And I believe someone was like, yeah, like I've been there. This is true. They think their strength coach goes a bit too hard, hence all these injuries and stuff.
Yeah, so I guess it's not medical because I wanted to speak on the Buffalo Bills game and Tua's head injury because we can't call it a concussion. So the head injury. So, but it wasn't technically medical. It says training staff and training room, but it doesn't say medical team or anything like that. It says travel team, locker room, training staff, training room, strength coaches, weight room, food service, nutrition, and treatment of families. So who was first overall, Kadeem?
It was the Minnesota Vikings. And so the Dolphins in all of these categories got A+. That's a lie. In nutrition, they got an A, and treatment of families, they got a C+.
And travel team, they got an A. Everything else was A+.
Yeah. So what I'm looking at the NFLPA website, it's only given 8, unfortunately. 8 different
categories.
I'm missing one, but yeah. The Vikings, they got all A's.
All A's or A pluses?
I can see 1, 2, 3, 4 A pluses, 2 A's, 1 A minus, and the treatment of family, they got an A. So
does it say if it like where it ranked? The treatment of family, was it first, second, third, fifth, second, seventh?
it would finish. I think that the joint second. Cowboys got an A plus. Panthers and Vikings got an A. Buffalo Bills got an A minus.
So just for the average and for my entertainment only, where did the Vikings come in like locker room or training staff or training room? Were they second in everything, including treatment of family?
The top 5 it looks like. So again, weight room.
Oh, I see it. Okay, all right, go ahead, continue. I see where we must have missed something. Go ahead.
So weight room, Cowboys, Miami, Raiders, and Buffalo got A plus, and then the Packers, Vikings, Texans, Bears all got A's.
So yeah, you're talking more about the grade. I was talking about the rank. So if the Dolphins was ranked first in like 6 of these 8 categories, but then I said they were only ranked 18th in one, they were also ranked 4th in another, which was team travel. So they were ranked first in all of these categories, but 4th in travel and 18th in treatment of families. So just by the law of average, you would think Minnesota had to be up in like the top 3 of all of them just to average out to be the number 1 team overall. But all right, that's enough math for this episode.
Very, very quickly, what I found interesting is that the survey found, so I'm reading this out now. The survey found that 3 teams don't provide dinners for players on work days. Apparently there's one team, I can't remember what it is, that when players come in the off season to work, they have to buy lunch at the cafeteria. It's like, you really can't provide you guys free food. Like, that's how you're moving.
Hold on. Say that one more time. So there's a team that doesn't provide dinner one day of the week for their team.
So this survey says, so this article says, the survey found that 3 teams don't provide dinners for players on work days. Now, don't provide is quite ambiguous. It could mean there's nothing at all. It's not free.
No, don't provide doesn't sound like there's anything at all. Like they don't. Right. It's not free. That's what I'm saying. It's not free. It's not provided. So they could purchase it probably on their work days. Yeah, that's. I don't like that.
6 teams don't give players first class seats when they travel. And 7 teams have their players room with teammates at hotels on road trips. The Bengals, for example, were the only team to not provide supplements for their players. Their cafeteria, JC Tretter said, is locked on their day off, even when players are asked to come in to work out.
The cafeteria is locked?
Yep. So if it's Tuesday and it's our day off, and guys are like, you know what? I want to go in, get some extra strength training or run some routes, and you're hungry, you want to get some food, the Bengals are like, you best go back home and eat, boy.
All right. So in their defense, that probably means the staff is off, though, because it's an off day. In their defense. Now, if you want to encourage people coming in to work on their day off, then you should probably have the cafeteria staff working. You see what I'm saying?
I think if this was a team that hadn't reached the playoffs or Super Bowl in the last few years, you can go, that's probably why, because guys are going to the building next and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
The fact that they're still winning, it's like I can't even make that joke at the moment. But yeah, I just it's interesting, and they'll probably move on. But JC Tretter said, some guys think this is normal. This is what it is. And those are the little quality of life things that really puts into perspective what decisions your team is making when given the option to do something for you.
No, I feel you. It's the little things. And yeah, we could move on. But at the same time, I don't know how many other podcasts are really going to talk about this. You know what I'm saying? Like I think it's fairly unique. But nah, man, it is the little things, Kadeem, because how many players on the team are single, fresh out of college or a year or two removed from college, practice squad players, their contract is not massive. They only make a couple $100,000 after taxes and after agent fees and stuff. You feel me? So yeah, they're in the NFL, but at the same time, if I could eat at the facility every single day and it's provided, and my training is taken care of, that means all I got to do is show up. And that's it. Focus on my career, which is football. And I'm getting the best food, the best trainers, the best nutrition, all that. That matters. You know what I'm saying? So yeah, bro. Nah, I don't think that's a small thing. It's the little things all add up to something big. I did want to say this though. There was a tweet. One of the Go Timers hit us up and said, "How do you guys feel about Carson Wentz?" And shout out to the social media team. Said Kadeem is out on Wentz, Charlie's in on Wentz, and I'm like, and I seen it, so I'm like, yo, I'm in on Wentz, I'm in on Heineke, I'm in on
Matt Ryan. Don't draw a blank at them.
There was other players, but I'm just saying I'm in on Matt Ryan. Now I want to be fair. Matt Ryan's probably not going to be available, but if Matt Ryan was available, I'm in on Matt Ryan. You not in on Matt Ryan, Kadeem?
Why don't you think Matt Ryan will be available?
You not in on Matt Ryan, Kadeem?
No. It's a genuine question, and it will go to somewhere in my answer. Why don't you think Matt Ryan will be available? And also, it was Hammer. Shout out to Hammer for asking the questions on social media. Always in the comments. Love interacting with him.
Appreciate you, bro. So I don't think Matt Ryan's going to be available because he's due $32 million this season. It's the last season he's under contract, and he's due $32 million. It's an $18 million dead cap hit if they traded him or cut him before June 1st. If they trade him post June 1st, then there's only a $6 million dead cap, but that means you found a team to take him in for $32 million, which obviously is not going to happen. Now, if they're rebuilding and they say, you know what, let's just eat all the dead cap this year so we could be free next year, they can move on from them. It's a rebuild. They're not going to the playoffs this year. They're going to trade the house. They're rebuilding. There's a possibility they say, yo, let's get Matt Ryan off the books and start over next year. But they could just keep him this year, groom whoever they're going to bring in at quarterback. He'll be a $32 million quarterback coach, and they can move on from him next year. So that's why I don't think he'll be available. If he is, though, because Jim Irsay is a loose cannon. He does things out of emotion. Yo, get Matt Ryan out of here. I don't want him on my team. I'm picking him up if he's a free agent. You see what I'm saying? So, yeah, absolutely. He knows the system.
So there's a tweet from an NFL reporter, not one of the big ones, not your chefs or anyone, but this is from Greg Rosenthal, or Rosenthal, however you pronounce his name. Possible cuts in the coming weeks: Joe Mixon, Michael Thomas, Frank Clark, Lyle Collins, Byron Jones, Shaq Griffin, Bud Dupree, Donovan Smith, Ezekiel Elliott, Eric Kendricks, Adam Thielen, Harrison Smith, Shaq Thompson, Matt Ryan, Ryan Kelly, Johnny Smith, Corey Davis, Carl Lawson. Matt Ryan would be... Matt Ryan is essentially finished. And I think even he kind of knows that, like, you know what, end of my career. His role, in my opinion, next year will be a veteran presence in a room, but has no value on the field because he looked bad for the Colts last year. Didn't they bench him? And then someone else came in and then kind of brought him back in.
Ellinger, bro. Like, listen, Touche's 24 is on the way. Sam Ellinger, all due respect. That's what Ricky Bobby say, all due respect. You know what I'm saying? He like, just because you said all due respect doesn't mean you can say something disrespectful. With all due respect, Sam Ellinger is not an NFL quarterback. How about that? Let's see how I soften the blow.
Now, obviously, team can do whatever they want. One team's trash is another team's treasure.
Mm-hmm.
Matt Ryan being benched for Sam Ellinger isn't a good look, but coaches do silly things all the time. It is what it is. Dude, Matt Ryan's bad. Like, and I know you're gonna say, well, Skylar Thompson's bad, dude. In the nicest way possible, you can get some upside from Skylar Thompson. He can at least maneuver in the pocket, and you can run him if you want to. I ain't trying to see Matt Ryan run at all. I don't think he can run at all. Right now, in a race between Byron Jones and Matt Ryan, I'm taking Byron Jones. Like, I might throw a better pass than Matt Ryan. Like, dude, Matt Ryan. No.
Kadeem, I don't want to hear nothing about a quarterback running when Skylar Thompson had all kinds of opportunity to run the ball and never did. So forget about a running quarterback. That's all I'm saying. And yes, I would take Carson Wentz, Taylor Heineke, Jameis Winston, Andy Dalton. Those are the quarterbacks I was naming before Matt Ryan, but I would still take Matt Ryan over Skylar Thompson. And that is a perfect segue to let us know in the comments. Would you rather have Matt Ryan backing up Tua or Skylar Thompson backing up Tua? Just be candid with us.
And like I also said, some of these decisions aren't exactly based on Skylar Thompson being a better quarterback. It's based on money. And if you can get someone to earn less money than Skylar Thompson, then we can talk. But once you get into the millions, then there's an issue.
It's not about less money, Kadeem. It's about getting this juice has to be worth the squeeze. The juice is not worth the squeeze with some of these quarterbacks. Now, if I could get any of the quarterbacks I just listed, including Matt Ryan, under $4 million, I'm doing it. I'm doing it, bro, because that's basically free. That's a lot of experience. And look, the backup quarterback market is oversaturated. There's a lot of quality backup quarterbacks. Shout out to Gardner Minshew. There's a lot of quality backup quarterbacks that are going to be underpaid next year. And when free agency comes out, it's going to be like musical chairs. Like, yo, don't be the last quarterback having to take $1 million deal somewhere because you didn't go to a team soon enough. So yeah, man, I'm cashing out with one of these quarterbacks, bro, under $4 million, and I'm gonna have a quality backup quarterback that I trust more than Skylar Thompson.
And again, like I said, I'm bringing a quarterback as well. I just have eyes, and I'm not just bringing in any quarterback who can throw a ball. Marcus Mariota, cool, we can talk. Matt Ryan, we can talk as well, but it won't be as a Miami Dolphin. Like, if you want to come be quarterback coach, or if you want to come hold to a jockstrap, then yeah, dude, come and do that. But there is no way Matt Ryan is wearing aqua and orange. And if he does, I ain't gonna hate it. I would trash it on every single episode and let him come and play a game.
He's not going to play no games.
Let me finish. Let him come and play a game and look worse than Skylar Thompson did last year. Oh my days. That's going to be a terrific episode. That's what I'm saying.
Hey, I said sometimes you're wrong. You get wrong. You're wrong sometimes. Ain't that right, King of Finland? We're wrong sometimes. It's okay. It happens to the best of us. It's cool. So Michael Thomas, was that the Michael Thomas from the Saints or Michael Thomas from Cincinnati?
It doesn't say. It just said Michael Thomas. But I'm going to assume I can't imagine the Saints cutting Michael Thomas. Can you?
Nah, I'll just throwing that out there. But you know what I think is going to happen before we go into the bonus time? Shout out to the friend of the podcast, Javon Holland giveaway. We're giving away a pair of Javon Holland game-worn gloves. Game-worn. Bro, when we give this stuff away, bro, Kadeem, I'm like, dang, bro, they're gone.
Dude, I didn't even know you had these, so you could have never said anything. I would have been like, hey, where are those gloves gone? I would have just, if I'm ever invited to your house, be like, yo, those gloves are pretty dope. Where did you get them from? That would have been a conversation.
Bruh. And then, like, you was like, oh, you could have just held on to the cleats after we gave them away on the pod. You should have kept them. I'm like, Kadeem, bro, what? I could have kept them. Like, that's not what we talked about. You feel me? Now, Mike McDrip, shout out to Mike McDrip. You feel me? Like, won the game worn Javon Holland cleats. I'm like, dang, bro. I remember shipping them out. I'm like, But shout out to Mike Drip, bro. I'll shoot that boy a check to get them cleats back. I would, bro. Hey, if you ever in need, bro, like hit my phone. Like, let's negotiate. But nah, dang, let's get the train back on the tracks.
Javon Holland giveaway.
No, it was prior to the Javon Holland giveaway. It was about
Matt Ryan.
Yeah, we did quarterbacks. There it was. Thanks, Kadeem. Shout out to my navigator.
Wow, and you really did call me Kadeem. Like,
bro, how do you not know that I call you Kadeem, bro? Like, there's no other name to call you, bro. Like, hey, what's up, mate? Where you from? I'm from here. Oh, where you from? I'm from Miami. What's your name? My name's Kadeem. Why am I gonna call you anything else?
Because people don't call me Kadeem.
Bro, I call you Kadeem every episode. More than 4 times.
I've never noticed it.
4 years in. 4th season is not years. 4 seasons in. We're about to start our 4th season, and Kadeem didn't notice that I call him by his first name.
Dude, I still can't get an intro down, and you bet me to know that you call me Kadeem. Like,
that is wild, bro. Listen, so here's what I think is going to happen at receiver. Tyreek Hill is going to be receiver 1. Jalen Waddle is going to be receiver 2. Trent Sherfield is going to get a contract because he's a important piece to this receiving core to be a blocker. Very important piece. I think Craycraft walks, may end up back on the team, but I think he walks because Eric Ezukama gets upgraded. Cedric Wilson goes. So that's what I think happens. Now, whether we draft another receiver, if someone falls to us, and nothing like high, nothing like that, but whether we draft another receiver or bring an unrestricted in, or not unrestricted, a undrafted free agent in, I think we bring in another receiver because you're not really trusting Eric Ezukama or Trent Sherfield to carry the load of Jalen Waddle or Tyreek Hill if one of them go down. So then that's why you have Craycraft for 100 still floating around the facility if he doesn't get picked up somewhere. I don't know that he does get picked up somewhere, but it would be nice to have him back. So the reason I said that is you're going to see Eric Ezukama this year, and he's going to make the roster. It's no more practice squad for Eric Ezukama. I just wonder what that's going to look like, bro. I would really like to see Eric Ezukama get some meaningful snaps. I just want to get this in on the back end of the episode.
No, it's important. And I think to kind of circle all the way back to what Chris Grier said. Yeah, they probably will pick up a wide receiver, but I think even he said they need depth and they have holes in certain positions, one of them being running back. So I think if there's any skill position that gets drafted outside of tight end, it will be running back. Like, McDaniel loves his running backs, and I can't imagine the Dolphins not picking up a running back in the draft. And not just undrafted free agents, I'm talking an actual pick 150, whatever you have on a running back this year.
Y'all know what time it is. Stay positive, test negative. For Kadeem Simmons, I'm Charlie Touche. Thank you for tuning in this time. Make sure you catch us next time on Go Time. Already.
Gotta make them lose their mind when it's your time. And it's show time. Going all out when it's go time. Go. I ain't wasting no time. Gotta make them lose their mind when it's show time. Cause it's your time. Lay it on the line when it's go time. Go. Don't waste no time. Gotta make them lose their mind when it's your time. And it's show time. Going all out when it's go time.
Before I get into what I want to ask you on bonus time, shout out to QB1, Oos, Tua Tagovailoa. It's his birthday, March 2nd. He already had his birthday party. He was living his best life. But yeah, obviously had to shout out Tua on his birthday. Have a great one, dude.
Tua turn up. I like it.
So one of the names I mentioned on the list of guys who are probably going to get cut is a player who I believe we both really wanted in Miami last year and were quite shocked the Dolphins didn't get him, especially after it seemed like they done a lot to try and bring him into the building. Leo Collins looks like he's going to be released from the Bengals. Is he someone you pick up in free agency, or has his time come and gone? And it looks like his,
Nah, I don't know that his time has come and gone. I know that he got hurt, so I would like to, for this second best franchise on paper grade, to get it right if he's healthy enough to play football. So this might be another situation where, you were similar to the Melvin Ingram. Melvin Ingram was deciding between the Dolphins and the Chiefs, and then went to KC. And then the very next year, he came to Miami. So Lyle Collins was deciding between the Bengals and the Dolphins, and he went to the Bengals. So now you might want to try to rekindle the flame. And if he's healthy enough, if this injury isn't serious, but we're just getting the scraps, I don't know. I don't know. But there's a conversation to be had. It's just about the numbers. Is he going to be a starter? Are you healthy enough to be the starter? If you're not healthy enough to be the starter, what's the backup numbers look like? So yeah, it's definitely, you could hey, money talks. Is the juice worth the squeeze? Is the juice worth the squeeze? That's the quote. You know what I'm saying? So it's got to be worth it. So yeah, I'm interested 100%.
Yeah, I think if you don't go and get Mike McGlinchey or a premier right tackle, I think you probably take a look at Lyle Collins. Chris Grier did talk about, or was asked about, friend of the podcast Robert Hunt playing tackle, and he was like, he's a guard. He can play both, but we see him as a guard. He says he has a potential to be a special player at guard, and then obviously once again spoke about our other friend of the podcast, Austin Jackson and Liam Eichenberg, about getting them healthy. Some people took that to be that the Dolphins aren't going to make any moves in your season on the offensive line. I just can't see happening. I think they will, but again, only because of injuries. I think they might bring in someone because they're scared of the injuries, as opposed to bringing in someone because they think they need to improve the offensive line.
Couple things. Chris Grier and Mike McDaniel really like Austin Jackson. Yes. That is not blowing smoke. That is not, sarcasm. They really like Austin Jackson, and word on the street was he was balling up to week 1 before he got hurt. Came back, got hurt, the same injury. So they really like what they saw from friend of the podcast, AJ, and it just didn't work out for him this year. So the fact that they're saying that, they're really anxious to see what Austin Jackson looks like. With Mike McGlinchey being in the conversation, remember the first thing I said when I brought up his name on the podcast a few weeks ago? Mike McDaniel's seen him. He knows him. So if Mike McDaniel doesn't move heaven and earth for him, then he's not worth it. That's it. It's that simple. This is Mike McDaniel's team. He's gonna say, "Yo, I need this guy. I seen him in the trenches with my own eyes. We got to bring him here." If McDaniel doesn't do it, one, that says a whole lot about Austin Jackson, and two, it says enough about McGlinchey. Now, the perfect scenario to pull that full circle is to bring in Lyle Collins now, because then you have a Lyle Collins that you don't know how well he is because of his injury last year. Y'all moonlighted with the man, and now you have Lyle Collins and Austin Jackson just in case one of them aren't playing their best. So that would be a pretty good situation.
So I disagree on your Mike McGlinchey take, but only because of cap. I think Mike McDaniel might be like, "Yo, we need to get this done." And Chris Grier says, "I'm a wizard, but even I can't make Mike McGlinchey come on terms which he wants, and we can get under the cap." I think if it was last year and the Dolphins were, again, flushed with cash, then yeah, I can get on board with that. Hey, if you don't go and get Mike McGlinchey, then, that's because you have priorities elsewhere. But again, I just think with a definite need at tight end, At the moment, no running backs on the roster. Probably a corner to replace Byron Jones. Maybe an inside linebacker, although there were quite a few draft prospects who said they spoke to the Dolphins. Like multiple linebackers were like, yeah, we spoke to the Dolphins, had a really good conversation. They seem to really like me. So we'll say that for another podcast, but I will not be surprised if the Dolphins draft a linebacker. And Chris Grier did mention it, to be fair, about, needing some depth at linebacker. I think if the Dolphins don't go Mike McGlinchey, who will probably be the number one right tackle on the market, I don't see it as Mike McDaniel not liking him, just kind of going, this is a battle that I can't win. And I also think they might like Austin Jackson enough to say we can make do with Austin Jackson and bring in Lyle Collins. In an ideal world, we'd make the upgrade, but it's not a battle we can fight this offseason.
I am the flag bearer for good enough isn't good enough. Oh, the line is good enough. I'm the flag bearer for it's not good enough. Good enough is not good enough. With that being said, I disagree with your take. I think Grier is willing to pay McGlinchey whatever he has to pay McGlinchey if they want him, because that's in essence saying this is the final piece. We have an O-line now for sure. So they have to really like Austin Jackson and bring in someone like Lyle Collins, or someone who they could rotate with Austin Jackson if one of them get hurt and still be in love with right tackle. Or McGlinchey isn't as good as what he's being advertised. I believe that. So we just seen the Eagles win the championship, or win the NFC championship, and go to the Super Bowl with the number one offensive line and a running back named Miles Sanders. Offensive line is everything. It begins in the trenches. So we'll see what we're gonna get.